Well, good day, First Church and friends. Today is Memorial Day 2020. I want to think a little bit about those who have given their life serving their country in the military, but also first responders, law enforcement, medical personnel, essential workers, farmers, truck drivers, all of them, who have given the ultimate sacrifice of putting their life on the line, some losing their life and some merely daily putting their life on the line. So reading from Job 31:35, in the midst of Job's tough times, he said, "Oh, that I had someone to hear me." Have you ever felt alone? Have you ever felt you were fighting the battle with no one on your side or in your corner? I wonder how a boxer would feel if they had to fight without someone in their corner, without someone pulling for them and giving them comfort and even direction between rounds. I wonder how the men and women who came back from Vietnam felt when they returned to pretty much an ungrateful nation. They put their lives on the line as their country called them to do and came back to some folks who spit on them and called them baby killers. Today is Memorial Day. Are there people in your life who have served in the military? Are there folks you know that have served that you could say thank you to today? I know Memorial Day is for those who gave their lives for their country, but all were willing. Those who serve or served don't serve for the thank you in the military or in the law enforcement or in the church. At least that's the hope. They serve because it is in their blood, or it is their job, or it is their calling. Yet a thank you, even a listening ear, is often appreciated. One year, when I was in Moorefield, West Virginia, for a family vacation, I had a chance to speak with one of my cousins who served in Vietnam. It was the last time I spoke with him. He died that year between our visits, probably from something that happened to him in Vietnam. He never liked to talk about his experiences in Vietnam, but he appreciated it when people thanked him for serving his country. Memorial Day was special for him as he would serve in reenactments of the Civil War or honor the fallen by placing wreaths on graves or simply attending special services for the fallen. I remember the cemetery there at Moorefield with both Union and Confederate flags flying in a cemetery of men and women from that hometown who had died in the Civil War. A friend of mine, his name was Willie, had a ministry to bikers, and many of them had served in Vietnam. Every year he would ride his hog to the Vietnam Memorial to minister to the hurts and spiritual needs of fellow bikers. You see, some may not have lost their life in Vietnam, but their life was forever changed in Vietnam. It was amazing knowing him and seeing him in action. He and Robin, his wife, were awesome folks, and we loved them at Mount Zion Church in Lothian, Maryland. Today's passage is from the book of Job. If you remember, Job was a follower of God, a righteous man. Satan thought he was righteous because God protected him, so he bargained with God to allow him to persecute Job, believing that Job would curse God when under heavy pressure. God relented, knowing Job and his faithfulness. The book of Job is about the persecutions of Job and how Job stood strong in his trust of God and his faith. As Job's so-called friends gathered around him in his suffering, instead of being a support and a help, they became part of the adversarial conflict that Job was facing. Job was so frustrated that his friends weren't really there for him. He uttered today's passage. Here is today's passage, Job 31:35, in partial context, as I read Job 31:29 to 40. if I have rejoiced at my enemy's misfortune or gloated over the trouble that came to him, I have not allowed my mouth to sin by invoking a curse against their life. And if those of my household have never said, who has not been filled with Job's meat? But no stranger had to spend the night in the street. My door was always open to the traveler. If I have concealed my sin, as people do, by hiding my guilt in my heart, because I so feared the crowd and so dreaded the contempt of the clans that I kept silent and would not go outside. Oh, that I had someone to hear me. I sign now my defense. Let the Almighty answer me. Let my accuser put his indictment in writing. Surely I would wear it on my shoulder. I would put it on like a crown. I would give him an account of my every step. I would present it to him as to a ruler. If my land cries out against me and all its furrows are wet with tears, if I have devoured its yield without payment or broken the spirit of its tenants, then let briars come up instead of wheat and stinkwood instead of barley. The words of Job are ended. Oh, that I had someone to hear me. I can just hear Job crying out, because there had been times in my life, nothing to compare with veterans or Job, but there have been times in my life that I have wished for someone who would listen and give me comfort. Point out my sin that I might confess and repent. Have you ever been there? If so, the one we can always turn to is God. God will hear us and God will respond. God has promised the following. Jeremiah 31:3, the Lord appeared to us in the past, saying, I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with unfailing kindness. Deuteronomy 31:6 says, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Isaiah 40:28-31 says, do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow weary. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths shall grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those whose hope in the Lord, they will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. God is listening. God is always present. God will not leave us nor forsake us. God will never tire of hearing from us, hearing our cries and our confessions. God has always loved us and always will. If you feel alone, if you feel lost, if you feel that there's no way to go forward, turn your heart, your eyes, your voice, your spirit, your all toward God, and he will be there for you. This Memorial Day, remember those who gave their life for us in the military, law enforcement, first responders, medical field personnel. With this pandemic, many have lost their life serving others. And also celebrate those lives offered to us by many, not only those who lost their life, but also those who have an everlasting change in their life because of what they faced. But most importantly, remember the love of Christ, who gave his life for us and for our eternity. Just something to think about today as we go on our way. Thanks to all who served, especially those who have given their all and died in the service, or who have died since. God bless you on this Memorial Day.